Hi-ho, it's Dane along with Pocket Frog today.
He's the dummy. I'm the one pulling the strings.
We know that for a fact. And today on our session, there's going to be a surprise announcement, something I'm kind of excited about. Hopefully you'll be excited with me. And then also I'm going to be talking about a simple technique, something that you can do without any hesitation and something that you can fit into your lifestyle that will absolutely make you a better voiceover person. Up next.
Studio Takes. Real help for the aspiring voiceover artist and Fiverr entrepreneur.
All right, well, cheers. Lifting a cup of coffee to you as we get started today. If you go over to our website, thegigdoctor.com, and you click on the link right near the top, it's kind of in the top center that says Voiceover Coaching. It's going to take you to a page where there's an introduction to voiceover coaching and some information about how you can take advantage of it and even book a session if you would like to. You can also send me a personal message and contact information is right there. Let's consider getting together. Maybe I can help you to advance in your voiceover career on Fiverr and elsewhere, and nothing would give me more pleasure than that. The special announcement is that I've actually ordered a new mic. Now, the one I have, I'm going to move it, and you'll hear it when I'm moving it. So apologies in advance for that. Can I move the camera? Okay, so for the sake of those who are watching, there's the one I have right now. This is a TLM 103 Neumann mic, and I've used this for a couple of years now and love it. It's great, and so I have no real big motivation to change microphones, but I do have an issue in that voiceover work has been good enough for me the last couple of years that I really need to be able to expense some things out. And so I've decided to upgrade, and I'm going to get not a TLM, but a U87 AI, which is the modern version of the Neumann 87. And that's coming, I think, in just a couple of days. It depends on when you see this video or hear this podcast, but it's going to be coming very soon. And when it does, I'm going to do a shootout between the TLM 103 that I have here and the new one that's coming. And we'll see if there's any difference. And we'll also see if you can detect any difference. And then we'll look for your comments. So that should be a lot of fun. Okay, moving on. But first of all,
hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, hit that
subscribe button.
Do that right now because that will help you to follow the action. And then you're going to get notified when we do our shootout there with the two Neumann microphones and all the other things that are coming up. Today, as I promised, I have a very, very simple technique that can make you a better voiceover person, absolutely guaranteed. And here's what it is. I'm going to call it a practice diary. Simple as that, a practice diary. How did I come across that particular term? Well, it's really interesting because I was describing the technique to a voiceover student today, and he said, "Oh yeah, it would be kind of like a practice diary." And I thought, perfect. That puts an exact handle on it. That's exactly what I want to call it. And so here's first. Let me give you a little background. When I was in my teens, I went to broadcast school. Went there for a year, from 19 until I was 20, I think. And in broadcast school, they had something that they required of us every day, and that was to go home at that time with a cassette recorder and record ourselves for an hour doing voiceovers. And really what it amounted to was not voiceovers per se, but just reading. Reading from a book, reading from a catalog, from a magazine, from the Bible, from just whatever. They just said, we really don't care what you read from. Just read and read and read. Now, why did they tell us that? Why didn't they say, go home and practice sounding like a DJ? This was radio broadcast school, right? Or go home and practice sounding like a commercial announcer. But what they were most interested in was in just developing, I think, the patterns in our brain that would allow us to read with greater and greater style and finesse and chops. You know, just we were developing our chops. We were improving from the inside by reading a lot. Now, what I'm suggesting here is that obviously practice makes perfect, and there's nothing new about that. Whether it's an instrument that you play in your hands or it's the instrument that's in your throat that's associated with your brain. But the practice is the thing, and the consistency is the other thing. And it's very hard, unless you are a pretty disciplined person, to just plop down regularly without any kind of a real plan or idea in mind of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So here's what I suggest. Take a look at your lifestyle and just think about, okay, how much time do I have? Maybe I'm a mom or I'm a dad and I've only got so much time because of my work obligations and my home obligations. But there is a time just after supper, before we plop down in front of the TV or whatever it is that you've got in your life, some time that you can devote to just getting alone by yourself for a little closet time, so to speak, and doing some reading. Well, how I suggest you do it is this, and this is the diary part. This is the interesting part, I think. You're not going to have to record into a cassette recorder. Obviously, that's not anything people do anymore. And then in addition to that, you're not going to have to hand it into a teacher, unless you're doing coaching, in which case occasionally you may want to hand it into me or whoever it is that's helping you with coaching. But what you mainly want to do is to keep a record of your practice. So here's the way I suggest you do it. Create a folder on your computer. Call it simply Practice. Put it somewhere that's easy to get to, maybe even on the desktop of your computer. And then each day, go into whatever you're using to record with, whether that's Audacity or Studio One or Audition or Reaper or, Twisted Wave, which is what I use. Whatever it is that you record in, just start rolling. Just roll and then forget about the recording pretty much. Then just sit down and read. Read and read and read and read. How much time can you spend a day? Can you give it 15 minutes? Can you give it a half hour? How about 45 or an hour? I just spoke to another coaching student today, and he said he was doing an hour a day, which is super, really, really good, because the more you practice, the quicker you come along. The way that you really improve is through the discipline of doing it daily. You've got Siri or you've got Alexa or you've got some other kind of a alarm program set up. And you've got that thing set off to go at 6:15 every night or at 7:15 in the morning or whenever it is that you're free and can do it. And then you just sit down and you just do it. And the fact that you are literally doing a recording session kind of adds a little to the fun of it. And plus that in a month's time you're going to be able to go back and listen to what you did a month ago or 2 months ago and see how you sounded then. So every day you do your entire recording. You record for the entire period that you want to, then save it into the practice folder with that date as the file name. That makes it really, really easy then to go back afterwards, and you've got this wonderful record of all of your practice. The other thing that I would mention about all of this is that you should find out where on your computer in the recording program that you use the marker feature is. On Twisted Wave, which I use, I just have it set up to hit the letter M on my keyboard, M for marker, and it drops a marker. So let's say that you've been just reading along, and maybe you're just thinking to yourself all of a sudden, hey, that was kind of good. I was experimenting with styles or whatever it was that I was doing. I kind of like that. Bonk, hit the M. I hit the marker. And then just keep reading. When you're done, if you want, before you save the file out, you could go back and relabel the marker and say, kind of a cool wizard voice, just something for reference so that you could go back later if you wanted to and say, with a little development, that might even turn into something that's marketable, a voice that I could really use in projects. So as you're experimenting, you play with your voice like a toy, you keep finding new things you can do with it. And then as you find things that you think that just might work for something, then you go ahead and you make a marker there so that you can refer back to it later.
That makes sense.
It does. So just consider doing that. So here's all there really is to it. We're going to review this very quickly. Create a folder. Call it Practice. Each day at a particular time of day for kind of a prescribed amount of time that you devote yourself to day after day. You record whatever suits you, Wikipedia, if you want to read articles, if you want to read books, maybe you want to get over to LibriVox and sign up there. Then your practice goes for something good, and you're actually contributing to the free public domain audiobook resources of the world, which is a really, really nice thing to do, and it's fun. And plus your practice, because you're practicing for something real, makes it even more fun. But whatever you choose to read, just read and read and read, like I talked about. Save it as the file name with the particular date as the file name. And if you have found anything that you think is especially cool that, from your voice as you're practicing, just drop those markers as you're going along. Save it, keep it, archive it, and even save it for years. I think you'll find that, maybe if you do really get into voiceovers and start doing well, that you'll have great fun going back over some of your practice stuff from months ago or years ago. All right, so once again, we want to make sure that we subscribe here.
Hit that subscribe button.
And then we will get back to you probably in the next few days and do that shootout that we talked about, the Neumann versus Neumann. It's coming up on a very soon future Studio Takes. If you are listening to the podcast, please give us the 5 stars because that helps us to succeed and to be found by more people. The more stars we get, the more exposure we get. That's how it works. And I'll talk to you next time on the next edition of Studio Takes.
You give me a call.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, I think.
Hello, cutie pie.
Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Goodbye.